Hey folks, what's going on? A little voice crack at the beginning of the podcast. Not off to a good start. Hey folks, what's going on? Welcome to Got Your Back Short Shift Edition. Getting set to join Jason Strudwick in just a moment. Going to talk a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers as they prep for the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday. Little lineup juggle, little shuffle, maybe see a rookie on the top line with Connor McDavid. Dylan Holloway maybe getting a bit of a bump here. Had a chance to chat with Dylan Holloway after practice on Friday. So you'll be able to hear that interview in just a couple of minutes. Got Your Back Short Shifts brought to you, as always, by Mid-City Construction Management, a locally owned family company specializing in civil construction projects for over 40 years. And they're hiring right now. They're currently looking for an accounts receivable and billing coordinator. Full-time permanent job, comes with great benefits. It's a dynamic position with a high volume of transactions that you will work closely with. And you'll work with the field superintendents, project managers. It's an important job. It's a family company. I've been to the head office, met the crew. Looks like a great place to work. Search them on Indeed for all their job postings or go to mid-city.ca and click on careers as we check in with Jason Strudwick. Struddy, how you doing this Friday, my friend?
Very good, buddy. What about yourself?
Good, man. I was down at Oiler practice a little bit earlier on today. Went to check things out. A couple of notable items. Evander Kane back on the ice with his team after missing a few days there for what we believe were his bankruptcy proceedings out in San Jose. So he was back out there today. And the other thing I noticed, Dylan Holloway skating around on the top line alongside Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So you and I have been talking tons about Dylan Holloway this year on the podcast. There were times where we were saying, get him down to the minors. There were times we were saying, get him more minutes. Times we were saying, bump him up the lineup. Jay Woodcroft took a pretty steady approach to working him in and building him up to this. What do you make of it? You know, I think he's going to start there on Saturday. I'm pretty sure, though Woodcroft wouldn't completely confirm it. But what do you figure, Struds? 55 next to 97 and 18.
In my perfect world, Dylan Holloway would have started about 5 to 10 games with Oilers and been down the minors till about February 1st. Or I know that there's some issues with games, but let's just pretend the Oilers played February 1st. That's when I would have called him back, and I would expect him to get a pretty big bump at that point because he would have been playing a ton, more pro games under his belt, all that stuff. Well, it didn't work out that way, right? Injuries and such. They needed him. They needed him here, and quite honestly, Shocker, the cap situation, right? He's cheap, relatively like NHL cheap. I get it. So here he is. And I believe just like the rest of the team, the last 6-7 games, we've seen Dylan Holloway start to bring it more consistently. Yeah. And to use Jay Woodcroft's words, when he understands the details he has to do in the game, he gets more ice time. So but that's a rookie thing. That isn't that he's not smart. It isn't that he's a good player. It isn't anything. It's that when you're a young player, you don't understand how bad things can go sideways when you make a half-ass choice. Like, and again, that half-assed the wrong comment. When you make a very casual play, and he's starting to understand it. And I think his physicality is starting to show a little bit more, not only in hitting, but the way he's taking pucks to the net and protecting the puck. Like, those are all things I expect to see from him. I'd like to see almost a faster skating Hyman, right? Who protects the puck and is on it. And I think he has a better shot than Hyman. So lots of upside here. I like that he's getting this bump now, just before the break, so he can be like, okay, like I can play with this guy. And then Connor, part of it also, Connor McDavid has to understand he's going to have to hold, maybe not hold hands, but he's going to have to be patient with this guy tomorrow night and make sure, he feels comfortable. And like, if you lose the puck, say, just go get it back. You lose it, go get it back.
Just to remind people of what we were seeing, Evander Kane was back on the ice. He and Derek Ryan were skating with Leon Draisaitl. Interesting. Ryan gets a bit of a bump there, and then Holloway, Hyman, and Connor McDavid rounding out the top six. Holloway's baptism into the NHL early this season was rough, and I know he played the one game before, but he stepped onto the ice, and the first thing he did was make a mistake, and it ended up in his own net. Like, man, it's so tough. What a tough way for things to start, right? And there were some mistakes early this year, Struds, where it seemed like every mistake he made ended up in the back of his net. Just a little bit unlucky along those lines, and I think it took him a little while to build trust with the coaching staff. And Jay Woodcroft wanted to keep him here through that process rather than send him down. And I do believe they were going to send him down until all those injuries hit. But what have you seen from Holloway in terms of the ability to brush off mistakes and still play a style of game that long term he's going to have success with? Because what I haven't seen, and I like this, despite those mistakes that have cost him ice time and maybe opportunity, I still see a guy that goes out there and does his thing and isn't afraid to try stuff, Struddy. And I think that's good.
It sure is. And so he's got confidence, right? All things considered, he's got confidence. But when you are not, and being trusted by your coaches is huge because they give you more ice time based on that. So let's be honest, it wasn't like Dylan was going to come out and score 25 goals this year. Yeah. So if you're causing numerous chances and or goals against per game, your ice time drops. That's just the way it is. He's like, I can't have him out here because the ledger doesn't balance. You know, look at Draisaitl. Does sometimes he make some giveaways? He does. But the other whatever percentage of time, 60, 70, 80%, he's giving people backdoor tap-ins, right? So that's the difference. He has way more leeway, and people say, well, that's not fair. Well, unfortunately, life isn't fair. Yeah. That's how it is. When you're trusted by your coach and you make plays, you get to play more. So for Holloway, it's taken him a while to kind of not understand it, but to get used to it. That's how I have to be. I have to keep, making smart plays with the puck, moving it forward, keep it simple. Because really, I think he can be very effective as a simple player now. And I think he'll add those other elements. But when he's skating and when he's physical, going to the net and shooting the puck, it's a pretty simple game. Like, you're not asking him to make a lot of fancy passes, but those are pretty basic things that he can do because he's very naturally gifted athlete. That's unfair. He's a very gifted skater. He's worked on his skating, and he gets there in a hurry.
I love the way he moves around out there, man. He does. He gets there on time. He also shows up with a willingness to put a shoulder into you, too, which I like about his game. Yeah. He's not a small guy. The Oilers have cut back to 11 forwards here for the last, 7 games? And what's notable for me, the last 3, even with only 11 forwards in the lineup, 12:01 versus Tampa, 11:38 versus Vancouver, not huge minutes, and then 13:28 in what was a really tight game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So his minutes have been climbing kind of steadily, despite the fact they're only playing 11 forwards. And it gives him more opportunity to get out there. And if he can stay usable, he gets used deeper in games now, which I think is really good for him confidence-wise. 5 hits last game. I think he had 3 shots on net too. So it doesn't take a lot to build into this guy's confidence, Struds. I see little victories happening that really seem to be stalking his confidence.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So when you go back to 12 forwards, like, where does he land? Yeah. So is he a top forward for the Oilers with playing with Connor the rest of the year? I don't know. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch.
Can he hold down the spot till Yamamoto gets back? That's the question. Can he hold down a top 6 spot till Yamamoto gets back?
The way that Jay moves the lines around, I think it's unlikely. I would say it's unlikely. And that's not a knock on Jay. That's just kind of the way that's just reality, right? So, yeah, I guess anything's possible, but I think people, and we saw it with Puljujärvi in the past. Oh, he had a good shift. Let's put him up to the top line. Oh, this guy played 6 good periods in the minors. Let's put him up in the top line. No, just kidding. That was a shot at you, Shogger, but you missed it.
Sorry, but, I missed that. I was looking.
You're like, oh.
I was looking at something technical. Yeah,
sorry, I knew I could tell you weren't listening, but that's fine. So, but it's a steady climb and improvement for Holloway, and that's what you want to see. Like, there's no straight lines to greatness. There are, like Connor McDavid coming in. He's great. Look at Leon Draisaitl. Look how long it took him to become the Leon Draisaitl we see today. So with this player, is he better today than he was at the beginning of camp? 100% he is. Is he finished? He's not even close to finished. I don't think he's 50% finished, 60% finished. Like, I think he's got a long ways to go, but he's trending the right direction. So I want to see what he can do tomorrow night. Just simple game. But Connor has to be patient too. And I know he probably doesn't want to hear that, but that's reality.
I think he will be. I do think that McDavid has the time for Dylan Holloway to grow into that role a little bit. I don't think Connor McDavid is going to get frustrated too quickly with them trying to work a player of Holloway's skill set onto that line. Isn't it more frustrating when they're working a guy in that clearly isn't a long-term fit there, yet you're still just doing it? Like, isn't it investment for McDavid into trying to make this work because he gets what the player can be?
100%. I think back to LeBron and Kyrie Irving when they were together in Cleveland. That's a basketball reference for those of you who don't follow the great game. But so Kyrie Irving was a young rookie, and LeBron worked with him, right, and was patient. Then in the end they had a breakup and kind of sad. So it's kind of wrecks my story a bit. But you have to help groom these young guys, and you have to help them, because the better they get, the better your team gets. And that's why I'm looking at Broberg and Holloway in this conversation as a piece that I think is very important moving forward the Oilers. But again, he's better today than he was 4 months ago.
Let's get to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here. Weiss Johnson with 45 years in the industry. Boy, are they ever the go-to crew. It's a great time of year to look into a furnace for the garage, and they got a great deal going. No GST on all garage heater installations. You can kind of squeeze that in before the end of the month. 20% off all in-stock air conditioners when you purchase a furnace as well. 5803 Roper Road is the showroom. It's a nice showroom, or give them a call, 780-463-3096. Jay Woodcroft talking about the way they've managed Dylan Holloway's ice and what the communication level has to be like when you're dealing with a young player who isn't playing a ton.
We're cognizant, especially of younger players, of making sure that the communication is daily and two-way, and not just one way, two-way communication. I think he's doing a very good job of figuring things out at this level on the fly, and he's confident. So I'm happy for him. I think he's taking real steps.
Jay Woodcroft might submit that every step along the way, when you look at Holloway's development, and he's talked about this before, it took him a little bit to get a toehold at each level that he went to. And the other side of the argument might be, Struds, that whenever they brought Dylan Holloway to the National Hockey League, no matter how many games he played in the American League, there was probably going to be a 10, 15, 20 game feeling out process where it was up and down and all over the place. And that there wasn't necessarily going to be a call up and then boom, he just starts at this really high level. That this player, because of his history, was going to take some time to find his comfort and hit that stride, and that they might as well just get that over with. And that's why he's been here, to work through these things so that he can get his game to that level. Is there anything to that? The idea that some guys are just going to take time regardless of when you bring them up?
Well, I think most guys, it takes time to find it. You think about it, you're now playing against people whose hockey cards you bought and sold at 12 and 13 years old.
Yeah.
Now in your lineup, it's like Sidney Crosby over here, or whoever, Nathan McKinnon over here, Shesterkin, all these guys. Then also, like, keep in mind the travel. You go from staying in the Sandman, which is a nice hotel, to all of a sudden Ritz-Carlton's, right? The money's different. The way you travel is different. All the rinks are new to you. They're all new. I remember walking in rinks like, where's the dressing room? Like, where do I get dressed? How do I get up to the rink? Like, all that stuff. And it sounds mundane, but it's a lot to get under, to kind of get in wraps and understand where you're at. So
does it make sense aside, they just got that out of the way? Like, that's out of the way now.
I hear what they're saying. I still would, if in a program, I still would have put him in the minors. I just think he should have been playing a lot more. Because you can still figure that out pretty quick. Like, don't worry, you get that going. Yeah. But to me, the playing's the most important. But Dylan he's a gifted player, and I think that he will get it. And I think that the player we start a year from now, Dylan Holloway is much different player than he is today. And not that he's bad now, he's going to continue to grow, and that's the way it is. Go back to Draisaitl. Think about his first couple of years. Yeah. He was not the guy he is now. And that's the game, man. That's the way it works.
Yeah, 100%. Also notable, Stuart Skinner, Jack Campbell swapping back and forth between the two starters nets in practice on Friday. I assume it's going to be Jack Campbell. That would be my assumption, but Jay Woodcroft may be playing a couple of mind games there. Okay, we're going to get to, I had a quick interview with Dylan Holloway today after practice, after being on McDavid's line, and we're going to get to that in a minute, Struds. We're going to let you go first, though. But before we do, just wanted to let people know that Got Your Back is heading out on the road. We're doing our first ever road trip, Struddy. I'm looking forward to this, buddy. February 4th, 6 p.m., out in White Court. We're going to be part of the Speakers Series and Banquet, and there's tickets still available for this gig. But our big thanks to the White Court Wolverines for inviting us out. Little Got Your Back roadie. Just increase our bond, Struddy. Our friendship is just growing stronger with each episode.
I have a pretty impressive Team Canada history. The work I've done with Team Canada as a player, obviously leading Team Canada to a silver medal, the Spangler Cup, single-handedly, and myself and Pat Quinn is pretty incredible. So I have to admit, I'm a little bit intimidated that Megan Mickelson is joining us.
Yes,
and I believe she has 2 golds and at least a silver, and probably more that I'm forgetting. So for once, I'm going to have to sit in the back and let this incredible hockey player tell her stories about playing for Team Canada.
Yeah, really looking forward to chatting with Megan. She's got some great stories. Her husband, Scott Reed, and I actually were teammates in Kamloops years and years ago.
Great guy.
And great guy, great family. Really looking forward to that. So once again, that's the Speakers Series and Banquet out in Whitecourt on February 4th. And there are still tickets available. It'll be at the St. Joseph Hall in Whitecourt. You can email the office. It's office@ajhlwolverines.com for tickets. Once again, that's February 4th at 6 o'clock. Struds, we'll let you go, buddy. I know you got to do Jason Gregor's show today. Look forward to hearing you on that, and we'll check in again soon. Thanks for your time today, pal.
Take care, guys.
All right, see you, Struds. And you can just hop right off the chat, man.
I'm out of here.
I cut right to a single shot, and it's like you were never even there. Bonjour. Au revoir. Okay, Dylan Holloway. Had a chance to chat with him after practice today. It was funny. We were sitting around waiting, or I was sitting around waiting for Dylan Holloway to get there because he's one of these young guys. And these young guys on practice days, well, they just stay out on the ice forever. And Dylan Holloway is one of those guys. Puts in a lot of time at the end of practice, working on different skills. He came off. He was sweating like crazy. He had like 7 minutes to spare before he had to run off to a meeting. But as we go back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox, here's our conversation today with Oiler forward, potential top-line forward on Saturday night, Dylan Holloway. One of the last guys off the ice after practice again, Dylan. We're always sitting in here waiting for you. I guess that's part of being a rookie is you put in the time at the end of practice and you got to keep working. You got a pretty good sweat on today.
Yeah. No, I think I think for me it's important. There's a lot of stuff I need to work on, so try and get that dialed in after practice. That's kind of the time where you can work on like your individual skills. So I think just staying out helps quite a bit, and over the long term of the season, maybe it's like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but it just adds up. So that's why I stay out.
How do you decide what you're going to work on? Like, is it a program that you talk to some of the other coaches about? Do you just have individual things that you want to focus on? Like, how do you kind of decide how do you spend that time?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just. For me, honestly, it's kind of what you're feeling. Like some days my legs are feeling good. I want to work on my skating, and so I grab DP, our skating coach, and he runs through a couple of like edge drills and stuff. So he's really good at that. And then other days, our assistant coaches will stay out and have some drills for us. And it goes from anything from like shooting to picking pucks up off the wall to like little battles here and there. So it's a lot of good stuff.
It adds up, over time. Like the course of a season, if you're willing to put that time in it, by the end of the year, you think about the time you've spent working on these things.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I think. I think it's important. I know we obviously have a busy schedule, so not every day you feel like it, but I know you stay out for a little bit here and there, and then eventually it gets your confidence up. You get tons of reps after practice, so I think it's a good thing.
Jay Woodcroft always tells us not to read into his lines at practice, but we'll read into him a little bit here today. You got to skate with Connor McDavid on a line today. Maybe that'll be the way the lines look on Saturday. What do you think when you come in and you see your name on the board next to McDavid, and maybe you're going to get a crack here? What does that feel like for you?
Yeah, obviously it's a great opportunity. It definitely excites me quite a bit. Both him and Himes are having unbelievable years, so to skate on the same line as them in practice is pretty cool. And hopefully it stays the same for the game. And if it does, I'm just going to try and work my tail off to try and get these guys the puck and help the line out.
It comes with some spotlight, right? Those guys, they play minutes against the best defensemen out there. They play minutes against, other high-end guys, and the expectation is to produce as a younger player in there. Do you feel that extra spotlight?
Well, I think for sure, like anytime you're on a line with McDavid, it's I guess there's the spotlight that comes with it just because he's the best player in the world. So, but yeah, I try not to think about it too much. Just trying to think about playing my game and just sticking to what makes me me. So
you have a 12 o'clock meeting?
Yeah, we do.
Last one for me then. The minutes have gone up a little bit here recently. I think you're 9:29 on average for the year, 13 last game. How are you feeling as your minutes go up? I imagine it just helps that confidence.
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, you want to play as much as you can, but I think for me the biggest thing was just dialing in defensively. That's been something that I've been trying to take pride in and trying to do on a daily basis. So I think with that comes a little bit of trust from the coach, and then with that is just a little bit more ice time. So
thanks for your time, Dylan. All right, Dylan Holloway. Thank you kindly for your time. Appreciate him joining us. That'll wrap up today's short shift, folks. Thanks to Struds. And a big thanks to our sponsors, as always, Mid-City Construction Management and Weiss Johnson as well. Oilers in action against the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday night. We'll see if we can't drop a podcast on the weekend debriefing that game. And we will be doing podcasts over the break as well. So thank you for your downloads and your subscriptions. Keep us tuned in. We're going to keep pushing out the content as long as you keep consuming it. Hey, head over to iTunes. Leave us a review if you don't mind. Struds and I would love to hear what you think about the pod, the content, good, bad, whatever you have to say. We'll chat with you real soon, folks. Have a great day.